we're on.
All right, I'll bring the meeting to order. I'm gonna go around with introductions. Start it off. Mike Buckner and Public Works Pavilion.
Chris Walker, City Hall, Works.
Brian Guys, you don't know how it works.
Mark McLaughlin, City of Omaha, Transportation Planner. Eric Long, City of Omaha.
Thank you, Rick Douglas County.
Melanie Davis, Vice Chair of the CCC and Fair Transit Rep.
Board City of Nebraska, DOT District 2.
Damian Star, Nebraska DOT District. Fort Barber with MAPA.
Jared Walker in DOT Central Office.
Austin Rather, Omaha.
Matt Dowse, Vista Public Works.
Carlos Morales, Napa.
Matt Cox, Council Bluffs Public Works. Dave Vermillion, Council Bluffs Public Works.
Jerry First, Omaha Metro Transit.
Porter Hugh, Shimmer.
Those online want to introduce themselves?
Scott Sewer, Iowa DOT.
John Krager, City of Bellevue.
Lindsay Button, MAPA.
Greg Ewell, Felsberg, Holton, Oliveg.
Jeff Subject, City of Omaha.
Bacon Schultz, Federal Highway, Iowa Division.
Chris Rolling, Olson.
Action items, approval of the minutes from September 20th, 2024 meeting. Anybody have any comments on the minutes? Motion to approve. Second. First and second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the same. That's good minutes. First item is the Nebraska Regional Infrastructure Accelerator Charter. Jared Walker, is that on it?
You know, sure. I can pull mine. Okay.
Okay, I think I've mentioned the NDOT's intent to pursue a regional infrastructure accelerator a few times in previous meetings, but I've pretty glassed over it for the most part. The NOFO is getting ready to drop. We're being told in the next week or two. We've been working with HDR actually. It's coming soon. That's pretty standard for USDOT. I've been working with HDR for the past month or so, getting ready for it. So we're being told there's going to be about a 30-day window for this particular notice. We want to get ahead of it. This program is designed to identify and designate regions across the country where departments of transportation or our local partners need technical assistance to identify strategies for innovative finance and innovative project delivery. Our intent, at least in phase one, is to focus on the urban areas of Nebraska, primarily the Nebraska side of the MAPA region. I've got some more information I can send to Carlos report that really identify what those projects are. But we've taken a look into INTUS. I am not an INTUS expert, so I won't even try to pretend that I am, but there are a number of projects identified there. There are also some what we would consider illustrative projects. So South Sarpy Expressway, West Omaha Beltway, and then even a north side beltway that would connect that west beltway to 680 near the river. Obviously, those are illustrative. Those are very large projects. I think we also all know that there are plenty of urban needs that we don't have the means both at the state and local level to meet them based on current funding mechanisms. So we want to look at various innovative funding strategies. There are certain legislative barriers to that that we know we're going to have to address through elected officials. Whether we get this designation or not, NDOT will likely be working with the partners in this room and others to figure out pathways forward to making those changes, whether that's tolling or bonding or public-private partnerships, whatever that looks like. We're gonna have to get creative, basically, to make sure we can deliver these things. There will also be some projects in the transit world. We've talked with Carlos or others about transit oriented development even. And then this just popped up the other day with a conversation with Director Kramer. But we may incorporate, I guess, a Gretna Airport facility in this original phase one offer as well. Phase one will also include a few projects in Lincoln East Beltway that would effectively, when it's built, would close the interstate freeway loop around the city. Old Highway 2, which is now Nebraska Parkway, is in need of some work, so that'd be part of it, and then some transit work in that region as well. Phase 2 would involve us bolstering up our innovative finance office, which we just kind of launched in the last few months. We brought Lynn Eaton in to run that. The partnership between the innovative finance office and Build America Bureau, who is really runs this program, would build up the resources, the education, the experience, the knowledge within that innovative financing office that could then be used to deliver and provide resources to MAPA jurisdictions in this area and all the way across the state to help deliver projects in your respective areas as well. Next steps, we are having I'm basically facilitating a meeting with our leadership and NDOT subject matter experts on Monday morning to take a deeper dive into these projects that we've identified, their feedback, see what may need to be added, taken out. We've run some of these things by MAPA already. We're certainly far from a finished product in terms of the project list there. We'll also be running the mission, goals, vision through that group, the potential innovative financing solutions that we would want to investigate if we were to get the designation. Another next step is the charter. We have a draft charter. There are copies at the front. If you're able to pick them up. I want to be very clear, this charter would in no way permit any signing to any sort of funding or resource allocation. This charter is simply to say, this is what NDOT is pursuing. We know we need the participation and partnership with local entities, facility owners, whatever. We just need someone to commit to come to the table if we get this designation and engage in these conversations as we go forward. This is not something that if we get the designation, we start building things next year. This is, we start having deeper conversations next year. We start figuring out these financing mechanisms in the coming years. And we just need to make sure we have the right people coming to the table to do those things, to have those conversations in the right way. So it's a draft charter. We still have a little bit of language left to clean up. Carlos and Court and others I know have read through it, that they provided some comments. But we want to bring it to this group today to see if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, and I will do my best to respond.
Can you talk about other regions or areas where they've done something similar?
Sure. So there are 24 designations across the country. Not a single one of them is in the Midwest. Chicago would be the closest. There are a lot. I want to say there are at least 7 or 8 in the state of California alone. Many along the southern border, and then get over to the East Coast. We had specific conversations with Louisiana DOT. That is one of, I believe, the only other DOT that has actually received one of these designations. It's been primarily NPOs or COGS or just designations that regions created on their own to go after this designation. Louisiana is kind of doing it exactly the opposite the way Nebraska wants to. Our program, we know we've got a lot of things programmed out state, but we know we have many urban needs that we're not currently able to meet. Louisiana was just the opposite. They've pushed a lot of their existing resources towards their urban development, and they needed to focus on strategies to deliver their rural program. A lot of lessons learned from them. It looks like it's going well. Other designations, other RIAs across the country are, they're using this to learn. I can't speak to what they've been able to deliver yet, because again, this is a fairly young program. This was developed under the FAST Act, so none of these designations have been around probably longer than 5 or 6 years. So they're not necessarily going to be in a place where they're delivering these large scale projects quite yet. But everything we're hearing is that the Build America Bureau is a very valuable resource and is helping educate and is helping create pathways and avenues forward for figuring out innovative solutions for both financing and project delivery.
Notice that, you've got like City of Omaha, State of Nebraska, and starting, but then you have some of the other cities within those metro areas. Is there a strategy behind that, or like?
I don't think so. I think we just need to understand who the facility owners are and who the partnerships would need to be, so that we can go out and add them to the charter. We're not seeking to exclude anyone.
Is there anything thoughts on this thing? Right now, I don't hear for us to recommend it to the board. I mean, it's.
So MAPA, we've been asked to be a signatory, and we decided that we should probably have that go through our board, so naturally we come through TTAC first. So the question is whether MAPA, as a regional entity, should sign on to the charter. That's the question before TTAC, but then also, if you as a representative of the pavilion, want to engage differently, then I would say you can let me know, let Jared know, we can kind of start that conversation separately. But the question before TTAC is whether this should be recommended to our board, or something that MAPA should be a signatory to.
Should we wait until it's not a draft to recommend approval?
So that's kind of tough. So MAPA has looked at like staff has looked at the language, and we generally feel like it's in a good place. It may, I guess there's a possibility that it will change a little bit between this week and next week. But if MAPA doesn't make a recommendation, or if MAPA doesn't take action this month, we won't be able to get it in before they need to put something into the application to the feds. So that's kind of where we're sitting. There's nothing in the charter that binds us to any kind of financial contribution or anything like that. We're basically just committing to the conversation. Right, yeah, we're saying we want to be engaged in this, and we're willing to put some man hours into it in order to see, see something get started on regional infrastructure accelerate.
And I'll add, just in conversations with our leadership, we had considered holding something at a stakeholder meeting and trying to pull in representatives from the various jurisdictions. Director Kramer has basically said she needs to pick up the phone and have a conversation with anyone from the Cuming, Bellevue. Sorry, it doesn't matter. She's willing to do that. She is a huge proponent of this. It's really her idea. So if anyone needs to hear from her before even making a decision about whether they would sign on with the charter, she'd want to have that conversation.
Is the accelerator housed within the DOT? Like I said, within a existing section, or is it its own entity, or is it really outside of the DOT that we just designated that way?
So the accelerator would basically exist within our innovative finance office. Lynn would, I guess, be the lead contact for it. But that is again where we think the charter is important, so that we know who the point of contact is in each of these communities, these jurisdictions. So that when we're having these conversations about figuring out how to fund, we can reach out, we can engage those partners before even moving it into, pre-engineering development, all these various phases. So I guess the quickest answer is yes, it would exist within NDOT, but we do not want it to be insular to NDOT.
So you said application at the federal level, I noticed it says, for some accelerated transportation infrastructure, does the federal level involvement consider additional types of infrastructure that are not transportation related?
Can you give me an example? Tell you what.
Electricity and stormwater?
I would need to find out more.
So I guess I'm curious, I mean, at the initial application, it says, initially focused on transportation, that makes sense, I understand that's why it's here, but I guess I'm curious if the application is submitted originally, a lot of the front language talks about infrastructure filtered broadly. And I know that there are other types of infrastructure that, you know, with transportation moving forward, yes, that's an area we definitely need to focus on and we're discussing here, but are there adjacent types of infrastructure that should also be proactively considered at the front end, because the type of what we're talking about is constrained in those areas as well?
I'm going to give a kind of an odd answer to that question. I think the direct assistance from the Build America Bureau will probably be traditional infrastructure, transportation related. The education and the resources that we're able to access, I think could be applied to other types of infrastructure development.
Okay. Sounds good, nice.
So it's right now, it's just end up in MAPA, all these communities that we have later, if awarded. As far as signing this.
No, we would be looking to get all of the communities, if possible, signed on to this before we would submit the application.
Yes, city of Omaha, you would have to follow whatever process you guys need to do to get this signed if you guys are up for it. Same with everyone else, Metro and the chamber. I believe in that.
What's the deadline for the application?
We don't know yet because the no flow hasn't.
And it's a very short window. So it opens up maybe in 2 weeks or a week from now, and they have a month to do that. So it's part of like trying to get our ducks in a row and help the state out.
Now, I will say, we want to incorporate this charter or some form of commitment as part of our application. If the timelines don't work, we would pursue other ways. If we were still able to get the designation, then we pursue those partnerships, that chartering effort at a later time. We believe it would strengthen our application to show the overall partnerships throughout the region. Upfront, if we can.
Just knowing that getting council approvals and all that takes a long time, so the application. With a letter of support from each community.
And we may go that route. If that's the best we can do, then I think that's the route we would go.
All right, anybody else have any more questions, comments? Take a motion to recommend approval. Motion to approve. All those on favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, the same. Motion approved. Project selection policy guide and open call for project the TTAC, CRP and STP.
Yep. So we met with TAPC and PROSCOM earlier this month to go over kind of parameters around the call for projects. Not much is changing from last year. There's just been a few additions to the policy guide. I added language about the AC resurfacing program. That was just kind of a mistake from last year. It should have been in the policy guide. We were still operating, so it was in there. But so that language has been added to the policy guide. There's no change to the way that works. It's just making sure that language is in there. No changes to the scoring for either for any of the programs, whether that be SDBG, CRP, or TAP. And then I pulled the schedule out of the document. I'm just going to have that be a separate standalone thing. There's no reason why the schedule necessarily needs to exist in the policy guide. Both TAPC and PROSCOM are recommending approval of the guide, just so that everybody's aware of kind of what we've got coming. On the Iowa side, there's about 17 million available over the next 6 years for in the SDBG program. we have, Nebraska SDBG is basically full program, so we're not, recommending opening a call, under that. That we'll look at it again next year. We're gonna see how how the program sits after another year of obligations. And then TAP and CRP, we got 7 million in TAP and CRP, within each of the programs, in Nebraska over the next 6 years. And then 650,000, and 1.7 million in TAP and CRP on the Iowa side. The plan is, we'll either open the call on the 30th or 31st. I think the 31st is actually looking a little bit more likely at this point. The main thing I have to do now is go through and clean up the applications so that they're ready to go. They won't really be any different than they were in the last round, not really a whole lot of changes. We'll just clean up some of the language and re-release them. And then with the intent of deadline being January 17th. So we'll give a little bit more time in January than I think we did last year, a little bit more space after the new year. With the intent of having award letters in July of 2025. Any questions? Proscom and TAPC also recommended opening all the project.
Any questions, comments? Or motion to recommend. Second. All in favor, say aye. All those the same. Okay. Item D has been removed from the agenda for MAPA staff request. Item E, approval of the Fourth Amendment to the 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan.
Yep. So last month, excuse me, we brought the amendment to this group for recommending and opening a 25-day public comment period. We did not receive any public comments. We haven't heard anything on that end. I have added, I've made a couple of changes. Since then, Omaha's Creighton Bikeway project, we're adding that to the LRTP. That's a congressionally directed spending project. And then the Omaha 24th Street Streetscape project cost is increasing on that. It's increasing significantly enough that it triggers an LRTP amendment, so I'm adding that into this amendment as well. That's another congressionally directed spending project. So neither of these impact any of the regional programs, but they do need to be included in the LRTP for obviously federal funding. With that, we're requesting a recommendation to approve this amendment to the LRTP.
Thank you for the motion. Any questions or comments? Any questions? Ma'am said. Motion. Second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed. Approval of the Second Amendment to the fiscal year 2025 Transportation and Business Plan works.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up on that. Hoping this would be a little bit easier to see. There's quite a few items. This is usually how it goes when it's the first major amendment. I know we did an amendment last month, but that was sort of an emergency amendment so we could keep some things on their obligation schedule. So this is kind of the major cleanup of the 2025 tip from the kind of gap period between when we approve it in June and when the federal fiscal year kicks in October. So I have updated starting balances for SDBG, TAP, and CRP based on the final reports from Iowa and Nebraska DOTs. We are also, we're doing a few funding source changes. So we ended up swapping funds, CRP funds for CMAQ funds in Nebraska in order to get those CRP funds obligated before they lapse at the end of this federal fiscal year. So Metro's electrical upgrades and charging stations, as well as City of Omaha signal infrastructure phase Y, those will be funded with CMAQ instead of CRP, and CRP will go to a couple of state projects instead. In addition, I was talking with Brian earlier, we're going to make a couple of other tweaks where the phase Y, when they apply for phase X and phase Y, the intention was that those were basically placeholders, and then they would figure out what phase it was appropriate to apply those to. Brian's actually provided me the information on how the city wants to phase those projects. So I'm gonna roll that into the amendment as well. It doesn't affect the funding program or anything like that, but it'll affect how I describe the amendment in here, so that will change a little bit before this goes to the board next week. City of Pavilions, Portal Road, 6th Street, Phase 2. I'm putting the actual phasing in on that. It was just kind of in there as a placeholder for construction in 2029 or 2029. And now it's been phased out so that we have, well, that's probably the best way to say it. I've broken out the phases so that there's funding in 25 and 28 for doing preliminary work. City of Omaha, 2 new projects, or Omaha and Bellevue, 2 new projects being added. So they've opted to take a couple, Bellevue and Omaha have opted to take some of their projects through the AC resurfacing program. So those projects have been removed, and those are 72nd Street L to F and then 36th Street Cornhusker to N370. Those are being removed from the fiscally constrained portion of the TIP. And the funding for that is going into resurfacing placeholders. And then specifically, Omaha and Bellevue have applied or have put in their 530 forms for major street resurfacing in 25 and 26. So those have been, I know it's kind of a little convoluted, but effectively what that means is in the same year that those cities would have received their funding for construction of those 2 projects, they will be reimbursed for any resurfacing roadway maintenance they do that they submitted towards those programs over the next few years. And then outside of the kind of regional program, Omaha has, we're adding in 2 projects that were in the previous TIP in the 2024 TIP, but not everything got obligated. So we're bringing their Ames Avenue Safety Mobility Recovery Plan into the 25 TIP, and then signal operation for on Center Street, 42nd Street, and 60th Street, moving into the 25 TIP as well. The Creighton Bikeway project, which, as I mentioned, as part of the LRTP amendment, is being added in as a congressionally directed spending project that's being added with, I want to say it's a total of almost about 7 million. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was right around 7 million, I think, in federal funds. And I think that's it. That's all I have on this. Yeah. Oh, and in addition, something else that I noticed as I was looking over this morning, and I received the final obligation report from NDOT. There were a number of AC conversion phases for resurfacing that were accelerated so that NDOT could better take advantage of August redistribution. And those projects, so I think there's 3 Bellevue resurfacing projects, as well as in Omaha's 168th Street. Anyway, they had AC phases on that project. Those were accelerated. They've already been converted. They were also being shown in 2025, and I'm removing them from the fiscally constrained portion of the 2025 TIP so that they no longer affect the balance. They are basically captured in the carryover amount from last year, because they were already on. So those will also be added as removals from the 2025 TIP when this goes to our board next week.
So does that mean we get additional funding because it's due to the redistribution or no?
No, it basically means that's a wash. So it's not really, and the August redistribution doesn't really provide like an overall additional funding. It's more of more funding right now. It lets you take advantage of funding earlier than you normally would be able to. I don't believe it actually provides Nebraska with an overall increase, unless I'm mistaken.
Redistributions. I believe it is added if you have access to the match to
Yeah,
deliver things, but I'm not a redistribution expert.
Yeah, redistribution is basically like, you know how we try to use up our money before we lose it?
Yeah.
Redistribution is taking the people that did use it, it's taking the money from the other states that
Right.
didn't use it and giving it to everybody else.
but I thought that we still had to respect. Like, I thought that let the state go over obligation authority for that year, not overall. Like, it would,
So like if there's 200 million left over from the US. And there's 10 states that can spend it, they give it to those 10 states and those other states lose it.
right. Yeah, all right, yeah, and maybe I'm just not. Yeah, so it is entirely additive, it's not, okay, that's good to know, because I was under the impression that it was. It was a boost for a year, but basically that meant you were spending your future. Your future portion early.
No.
Okay, so it is actually a full transfer of funds from other, all right, that's good, thank you.
Any more discussion on item F? Motion to recommend approval.
Hold on. One second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same. Okay. Carries. And then it's time to open it up for public comment.
This is Melanie, and I don't know that this necessarily qualifies as public comment, but I want to bring your guys' attention to something. As a member of the CTC and vice chair, one of the big things that we try to do is get us all involved in other committees. That's what brought me here today. But I think it's important for you all to recognize the complexities that were involved in getting me here. Your work matters because we had to utilize paratransit transfer services between my eligibility with Mobi services and STS here in Council Bluffs in order for me to get here and get home. So continue doing the work you're doing, because without that, I can't participate in these spaces. It's truly important what you're all doing, so I don't know if Court has anything to offer about what we did to get me here, but it was never done before, so.
Yeah, so most of the time, you know, we hold all of our committee meetings at Metro, but Metro's rebuilding their parking lot currently, so it makes it challenging for everybody to park there. So we've been trying to find off-site locations, and that's made it challenging for Melanie. Because it basically, when we're at Metro, it's very easy for her, well, easier for her to attend meetings there. The CTC's been focused a lot on kind of talking about the paratransit user experience and, you know, what's that like as far as like coordinating services throughout the region, because that's a big challenge. Like if you're within Omaha, you're you know, within 3/4 of a mile of a fixed transit route. Melanie has access to, you know, to locations that are within that transit shed. But once you go outside of that transit shed, even if there might be a paratransit service in that area, like in Council Bluffs, it becomes much more difficult because there's a lack of coordination between the services. And we managed to pull off some coordination today. Metro offered to provide help over here today. And then are you
Yes,
shuttling back?
Yeah, so I'm, unlike the rest of you, when you all leave today, I don't leave. So I am staying here because I have, give or take, 5 Zoom meetings after this. So I will be sitting in the library until about 3:15 when the Council Bluffs paratransit service will take me home. Because with the way scheduling works with paratransit, there's no way that I would make it home in time for any of my meetings today. And the other piece that's so crucial here is that users don't know they can do this. Users don't know that they can transfer their eligibility and kind of come out of their, what I like to refer to as my aquarium. I live in this little boxed aquarium all the time because I can't transfer services and see the world. So I truly appreciate what has been done for me to come here. I haven't been to Council Bluffs in like 6 years. So imagine what you guys see every day and what I don't, because of the bubbles that we live in. So continue to look at how we can break people out of their aquariums. It's a big deal.
The CTC generally is very interested in kind of plugging in with TTAC a little bit more. They've always been a subcommittee of TTAC, but there hasn't always been that much, this conversation between them. You see recommendations from them occasionally, but the current chairs, you probably noticed Richard McFall, he's the co-chair, other co-chair of TTC. He's been trying to attend the TTAC meeting more and more often. It's just been a little difficult to get none in the room because we've been holding things offsite. But
Yeah, that was another thing I wanna say to you all, when you hold it outside of the city of Omaha, you're not gonna see me. It's very hard to get me here. So just be cognizant of that. I mean, I get why we have to do certain things because of cost and availability. But it does limit people's ability to come and give public comment, all of those things are factored into that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay. Moving on. Member agency updates.
Well, we're on topic of the mobility, with this act mobility plan, we're looking to finalize that here, but we do have a feedback form, if you will, on our website. I don't know as well. Looking at short-term, long-term projects for that. 81st Street Trail, Giles to Harrison, looking at need determination here, this month, which should be ready to move on to the next phase of that project. I'm sorry, let's write that one down. Thompson Creek Trail, basically Edgewood Boulevard to 69th Street, our next TAP C project. Working with 530 now to get that going, start rolling on that. As far as our locally funded projects, we've been doing quite a bit of rehab and the UBAS type work in the neighborhoods. Our next focus will be west of 84th Street, 4th to 96th Street. We'll start to work there here in the spring. So that's all I have for today. Mike, thank you.
Not a lot to update on our end. Kind of hiding out in the season, 168 was kind of our big one right now, and it's going pretty well considering its history. And, so that's good. We've had some hiccups with our 72nd Street Bridge. Just working through some issues with UP and trying to stay on track with that one. We kind of winded down most of our project, 48 and Q, I guess that's kind of impacting the region pretty significantly to come from the south. I know that's gone up to 42nd, 60th, and 84th Street corridors with the 72nd Street Bridge going on too. So little bit of a challenge if you come from Sarpy County and Omaha between 84th and 36th. But I made that bubble too, so I get experience of everything.
I covered RIA. DOT recently published their RFQ for our complete streets work, so we hope to have that consultant selected and we'll probably kick off the work by the end of the year. I think we're shooting for about a year-long process there, and then have that will be the policy development and implementation strategies. Start implementing different approaches on our projects going forward. I think Ryan Huff spoke to Matt about it maybe a couple months ago about that.
I generally don't contribute, but we just had our TSM semi-quarterly, not 3 times a year, transportation system management meeting with local agencies to discuss our next year projects and stuff going forward. Do we have TTAC in November, December? December, okay, I thought there was one that was skipped in there. I guess we'll continue discussion. We will have our first MTIS projects being let in January for I-80 westbound Q to Giles and the N50 off-ramp, westbound off-ramp. So those will be our first 2 kickoff MTIS projects that we want to keep an eye on. That's about it.
Okay, let's see, we got the North Freeway, Hamilton to Fort. Pretty much the last bridge work we have to do is the westbound Ames. And they've got everything done except for the overlay, which they're scheduled. Once that's done, we're done with all the bridge work. Well, we're done. The last thing we gotta do is put the permanent striping down, so we're getting real close there. Highway 50, 370 to L Street, that's ongoing, it looks like we've got all the pavement from the, Madison View in, or at least the northbound, and everything from there through Miller Avenue is done. I see they overlaid, milled and overlaid, Miller Ave from U to the bridge over the Patco. Let's see.
Thank you very much.
So we're getting real close there. I think all the inlet work done, but now we're gonna work our way across the old southbound. Put a lane in it. They've got one lane in. They'll shift traffic around and get the other lane. And then the bridge down there north of Giles. We've got half of that done. They're forming the approaches for the southbound. So we'll be getting close there too. Let's see, I-80, 60th Street to 24th, that's at night work. All the main line is overlaid, we're working on the ramps and some bridge decks, but we're getting close there too. I-80, the immediate Mahoney Park to 370, the cable guardrail. We started at the river and we made it to 174th Street, just past Dallas. We're gonna wait towards 370. The Highway 75 Fort Calhoun project is done. Harrison Street, 204 Harrison to Dodge, underway, northbound and southbound pavement repairs are over. They're working on the shoulder, asphalt shoulders, and getting real close there. And they're starting to work on the median south Pacific. Let's see, Dodge Street, 192nd. Pretty much. Well, no, we started working on the, we pretty much got most of the, not the southbound pavement in. But depending on where you are in that, you're either going northbound or southbound, you know. But what used to be all southbound, all chunks were pretty much done. We've opened up some ramps, off ramps and on ramps, as we get lanes done in there. And now they're working up northbound towards Cleveland Boulevard. Okay, Dodge Street, Skyline to 168th. We're doing the bridge repairs on those. I think we closed off ramp or westbound off ramp and eastbound on ramp. It was 2 lanes down to 1 while they're doing work up and down the shoulders. Skyline Bridge work, we've got single lane traffic head to head and completed southbound side with signals, and they're getting ready to put the asphalt overlay on the old northbound half of that bridge. So we're getting real close there. The 200, the Dodge Street over 204th, that's done, it's overlaid. Let's see,
We're going to look good on that in a couple of weeks, I believe.
okay. 75 US 34 to Q, that's night work. Right now, they're working on northbound lanes from 370 to the on ramp. Off ramp to Q. And they're diamond grinding the northbound. From the south end of that project, they're working their way towards Q Street. I-480 Missouri River Bridge, underway, you wouldn't know it, but we're working on the abutment on the Iowa side. And we won't bother anybody until next year. When we start doing the stuff over the river, so. Right now, I don't even know how to get to that. You got what? How they're gonna come plus that, maybe I'll go by there, but here. And let's see. That's not it. Yep.
The crack soon project starting up in a couple weeks. That's gonna be the westbound CD road to ILQ. That'll be shutting it down for single digit number of nights. We'll just be shutting down the CD road completely, so you won't be able to access it from West Center 680 or westbound 80.
What time, what's the time to go?
I would like to say 9 to 6, but yeah, don't quote me on that.
Yeah, that work.
But it will be closed, crack sealing, just asphalt crack sealing, nothing significant. Working ideally backwards from Q Street to L and I, so we can at least open L Street up, possibly in a single night. Obviously, the main directions of West Center, 680 and 80 are gonna be a little painful to the commission, but it's anticipated to be a good project.
All right, thank you. Well, the 24 projects are wrapping up, most of them, the large project out in the northwest part of Douglas County, 168th State. Secretary informed us this morning, they're pouring the intersection, they have the east, west, north, south lakes, quarter-mile each direction paved already. So it's gonna be wrapped up here real soon and open to the public, so that they give us the people's lives driving around that part of the county. That's the good news. The bad news is we're gonna jump over to 168th tonight and close that one. Same thing that's next time. A large 4-lane job on Q Street from 192nd to 204th approximately. And the plans are done. We gotta get permits into the state. We've been talking to the state on this anyway. There's not much going to be happening at the highway intersection. Median adjustments and putting new traffic signals, that kind of thing. But anyway, that being, hopefully we'll take bids. It's local money. This fall or winter, I have a contract ready to go. We're gonna close the road, big drainage structure, so it'll be kind of a nuisance for Q Street traffic. We want to get it done in one construction season also. That's about it, I guess. By the data center, State Street, there's been a lot of action up around Highway 133 in State. They're building a new county road on 120th Street up towards Greenwood. And that should be finishing up so we can at least open it this fall. And the signals made operational yesterday. 120th State. So things are changing up there because of the data center, and there's a lot of gonna be some signal work on Highway 133 and Greenwood Road. So it's part of that Google project. And then second phase of work getting up to Greenwood. Started. Google, it's interesting working in Google. They have a lot of people involved all over the country. And they tell you something here one day, and then the next day, well, now we prioritize something else. We won't be doing it. So they kind of look at their own pace. But the good news is they pay for everything. County's not paying for any of this road improvement. Look at all of zero. So it's a good deal for the public in Douglas County. But anyway, that's about it.
Mentioned this previous TTAC meeting, but the city of Omaha is going under a complete revision to our comprehensive plan, has been done in over 30 years. I like to joke, Omaha is a little different. It is today than 30 years ago. Like an ex-Nebraska. Relevant back then, relevant again this year. So coming up, we have some workshops. There's a survey out right now. So for those of you that are in Omaha and others, check our website out, wemakeomaha.org. Value your input. And that'll last into the end of 26.
I'll just add in on Mark McGoffin, the city transportation planner. I know I've met some of you, others have not met, so taking over Kevin Carter's.
Just a couple things, to supplement what Austin's already talked about, Martin Saddle Creek, the intersection is expected to be open at the end of the year, so. Yay.
Thank you.
And if you drive down Harmon County, you're seeing a lot of utility relocations, that will be ongoing. Construction will start. So. Yay.
Right, sticking with that, sorry.
I know. It's like-
I was slaloming in the car. Too easy.
Yeah.
Helps the kings, right?
Some upcoming RFPs, and I've said this before, and you can see it in the tip. The Midtown Medical Bikeway, and the Green. So those will be coming out. And the selections for consultants for design. I have one other item that Austin already knows about. But I have, submitted my resignation. As a design engineer, I've accepted a position in Glacier National Park. So I will be moving to Montana, but, I'll be here till February. So, I'm gonna be working to try to finalize some things and transition some things, but, yeah, it's a hard decision. Omaha's pretty awesome. So.
Chris is not really tough shooting.
Congrats. You said Midtown Medical Bikeway, that means the Leavenworth Street.
Leavenworth,
Okay. So I just want to make sure I get the name correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
For pavilion, we're finishing up our panel repair for local areas we do that every year prior to our review that. Part of Fed aid stuff, I just got an in grant for the 370 underpass. Supposed to make a plan and walk through in December. Hopefully that moves up. We're in the scoping process on 6th Street Phase 1, Phase 2, we'll be doing the selection here soon. I just got the program agreement for Schramm Road from 132nd to 144th, so we'll be going through that process here for a bit also.
Don't take today.
I'll take a little bit of liberty. We recently celebrated our council officials over here on Council Bluffs territory. So that was a fun, great event. If Mike is listening, I'm gonna toot his horn. He got nominated for Alumni of the Year or something. And also 40 under 40, so congratulations to Mike Helgerson. Now for business at hand for MAPA. We are in the middle of our long range transportation plan process. I'm gonna look at all of you engineers here. We need your projects to help our travel demand model, look at what's gonna happen in the future. If you haven't been contacted by court, let them know. We need your projects for the next 5, 10, 20 years. So that's one of the key elements that we use to help inform our LRTP. So if you haven't talked to court about your projects coming up, let them know. And I think that's something I need to work on.
I don't know how you reminded me of this, but there is one more thing. I have 400 MAPA calendars in the back of the Explorer. And if you would like to take home calendars now, you may do so. We'll also have them at December TTAC, but if you're ready and willing, I'd be happy to give you some 2025 MAPA calendars today.
Austin would like extra this year.
Yeah.
You can deliver all the ones that Douglas is gonna deliver.
All right, any other business anybody has? Okay, all right, thank you, everybody. Can I get a motion to adjourn? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.
That's your.
It's kind of amazing. It's something there's somebody who's kind of a very old. Yeah. She always wants one. Each year.
That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll see that.
Yeah, it's actually.
Karen, I will probably be sending you. And City of Bellevue, they had some issues that some of the people have regarding access items. That board now, I took it by the separate.
I was gonna say, it sounds like.
Which is great to me, right, so that's basically, that's great.
Like, it's taking over Kevin, that's you saying, provide his time.
Okay. So there were issues in the past with them trying to do this through the DOT.
Very well, yeah, I don't think you ever asked us.
Almost impossible to navigate.
No, we have.
So I know that there's a lot of
Well, because
conversations happening.
80-20.
Of course, I think.
I'll send you actually.
No, I think that's.